Alright guys, Scump here back again today. Hope you're all enjoying your day and you enjoyed yesterday's matchups as well because they were incredible. I'm going to do a very high level run through today of so much stuff that happened over the last 24 hours. Of course related to the opening day of the CDL 2020 season. That Chicago Empire match was sick. A lot of clips to share with you guys, as I'm sure you can tell from the title and thumbnail, at least hopefully if I've made a good one. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, I'd greatly appreciate smashing the like button for the start of the season. If you want to see more of this type of stuff throughout the rest of the season, please subscribe as well. I'd greatly appreciate it. Let's hop right into it then because we've got so much stuff to cover. So first of all, yesterday the Minnesota Rocker of course hosting this opening weekend event, and Ake says that the practice stations weren't even working properly for the time being, and I got a funny tweet to share about that from Octane in a second. Then also we have the Challengers side. I didn't want to go into the Challengers side today because it's too much to cover. I'll talk about it in the next couple of days when things become clearer, but a lot of things were going around about them playing in a parking garage, which is pretty funny, but at the same time, this actually is designed for these type of events. It is like underfloor heated and whatever. Obviously, it wasn't set up right at the time being. That kind of came out a little bit later. People were kind of up in arms about this, but it really wasn't the biggest deal, or at least doesn't seem to have been the biggest deal. Then Octane says, watching staff take pictures on stage while I've killed George the Bot on Hackney freefall 65 times. So, you know, the pros were forced to warm up on the bot stations. They couldn't even scrim and practice each other for a long time, but eventually they did get that figured out. Then we get this, Tyler TP confirmed back on the desk for this season, so at least just for the weekend actually, so ignore me, not for the season, but he's on the desk for this season, some proper analysis back in the game. TP is fantastic at this kind of stuff, really cool to see. We also saw Puckett doing the kind of hosting on stage stuff that I guess Jess would have been doing or something like that. He was doing some of the interviews. That's what we kind of see there. And then we saw Lottie Van Praag get effectively Katie's job. Now this is very interesting because Prague's, you know, she's been around Call of Duty esports for a long time. If you haven't heard of her, she's done some G-Finities way back in the day, like 3-4 years ago. She did the CWL London, the Open stuff last season in May. She's done the Halo stuff for a while as well, and they seem to like her over there. So, honestly, really talented. Cool to see she's involved in the CDL. Of course, the whole Katie situation is very interesting. Like, this is a picture that people found of her, like, streaming, like, crying on stream. Obviously, you know, very tough situation for her. You know, it's just interesting, right? I don't think Activision would make a decision that, you know, this decision doesn't seem great on the surface. Like, the community really liked her. She was clearly good at her job, and, you know, she did it. She was really good and progressing through the scene, and a lot of the community seemed to really like her. The question is, like, why would they make this decision? Because effectively, you've just swapped out Katie for Lottie. It's not clear that Lottie's any, you know, better than Katie. Maybe she could be at the end of the season, but clearly Katie was getting in on it. She really, you know, tried to do her best to understand the game. There must be some behind the scenes reasons why they haven't got Katie back, because otherwise you wouldn't do like a 1-for-1 swap like this, especially given the other circumstances. I can't imagine Activision you know, are making decisions that poorly, but you know, I didn't want to go into it in too much detail, but that's a pretty big deal that honestly we don't even really have time to discuss today. Moving onwards then, we have this. Call of Duty League has arrived, so all of this good stuff, and officially partnered with YouTube Gaming. That was the main thing, not on Twitch this season. YouTube and MLG.TV. One quick tip for you guys watching tonight. MLG.TV, the streaming experience is much better than on YouTube. Well, maybe not much better, but the quality, you guys may have issues right now with the Codcaster, which we'll talk about in a second. Seeing the scoreboard in the bottom, not the scoreboard, well, the scoreboard doesn't even come up. That's a topic we can get into in a couple of minutes' time. But the kill feed in the bottom left can be difficult to see. You watch on MLG.TV, the quality is markedly better, even though you can't rewind and stuff like that. So there is benefits and negatives here, you know, positives and negatives. But YouTube Gaming partnered for the upcoming season, no Twitch. Very interesting. We'll talk about this in more detail in the coming days. This is a really interesting change, and you know, sometimes makes it pretty difficult for people to find the stream, given that if you type in Call of Duty to the search engine on YouTube, you can't find it. You have to go to YouTube Gaming, which is their streaming platform, and then you can find it promoted there, but it's not too easy to find. So, you know, if you guys couldn't find it yesterday, that's you know why, and you know what to do tonight. So here we go then, Chicago versus Dallas, all kicked off yesterday. I thought this was a funny video of Illy walking out like The Undertaker. You know, the walkouts at the start of the game, I kind of liked it for a big matchup like this. The fact they did it for every matchup, and hopefully they don't do this at every single event. But I guess it was kind of cool for the opening weekend. At least it's good to try something new. Here we go then. Wanted to make a few comments on this, given all the talk about it yesterday. This is, I think my mate pointed out to me a funny comment about this, that it's so clean that it actually gives you no information. Like, I understand the point of having the players' faces on the screen the entire time, because, you know, marketability purposes and all of this stuff. But at the end of the day, if you've got the players' faces here, I've already got Crimsix in the bottom right. I don't need him here. They also had some other things where they would have like a picture of the players at the bottom and the side on the screen and at the bottom right. You'd have like Karma being on the screen 4 times at once. It was pretty insane. Honestly, up here is kind of clean. The main issue, of course, is that this is very hard to see, the kill feed in the bottom left. The arrows are really hard to see on the screen. And then you have no stats, right? That was the big issue. No idea how well anyone's doing. No idea if anyone's on a good streak or whatever the case may be. Very difficult to see. I'll probably go into more detail on this in the coming days. Then also you throw into the mix the issue of the third person stuff. The fact that for some reason there was so often being used like the over shoulder view and a third person like looking at the scene. Honestly makes it, I understand that in Search and Destroy makes more sense. In Respawns, it makes it so difficult. Like, the game's a first-person shooter for a reason, and also when you did that, it removed the minimap from the bottom left, so it made it even harder to follow exactly what was going on. I think there's good potential here, though, with the overlay. It's just there's some key issues which you thought that they, you know, I didn't think they'd overlook them, but it turns out they did overlook them. Anyway, this is how the series went overall. Because you couldn't get any stats, it's been really difficult for people to piece together what the stats look like for the series, because you can't see them on the screen and they don't bring up the scoreboard at the end of the game. There is a scoreboard view, which is much better, which I'm sure you guys experienced watching last night. But effectively, this is what happened. Hardpoint, the Chicago Huntsmen won the first one. Empire, they came up with a really strong S&D, so they won that pretty comfortably. Then the next 2 respawns, Chicago edged out a domination, kind of comfortably actually. And that's where Shotzzy had a really poor map in the domination. Went like, I think he was like 7 in 28 or something at some point. Finished like 12 in 34, but still not ideal by any means. So Chicago Huntsmen win the domination, and then they come back on hardpoint on Gunrunner and win that as well in kind of a comfortable margin. So yeah, the KD's here not looking so pretty on Dallas Empire. Chicago Huntsmen, RCT's dominated, Formal dominated. And Scump is a guy that when he's fired up against Crimsix like this and all that drama surrounding it, like he's going to be so hard to stop. And I just wanted to go through a couple of clips here just to follow up from it then. So this is the final moments of the game. I wanted to share with you on full screen of what Scump did afterwards. And, talking trash to Crimsix across the stage. That's great stuff to see. I really hope the CDL embraces that and pushes it forwards. Like, the fact that they've tweeted this out makes me think that they will. Because the Overwatch League, to some degree, is a tamer environment. You don't get all these rivalries and the drama. The Call of Duty is the lifeblood of. Like, look at this stuff. Like, this is just superb. This is exactly what you want to see. Rivalries, start of the season, passion, personalities, all the good stuff that makes Call of Duty great. This is it right here. And to combine that, that's what makes Call of Duty have such a great potential as an esport. If they truly embrace that, as they seem to be by tweeting out, and hopefully they use these kind of things on repeat, then we're in for honestly a great season, a great potential to bring in new viewers, hopefully with any luck. But yeah, this is what happened this season, this first match. Of course, this first match is pretty important to Scump in a way, and the Chicago Huntsmen guys, because Dallas were talking about how good they were online, they weren't losing scrims, talking a lot of trash. Scump comes out and the rest of the Chicago Huntsmen guys shut them down on main stage. At the end of the day, it's not the biggest match in the context of the season. This is worth like 10 CDL points. All the tournaments that go on throughout the season are worth much more points than this. So it's not really a big deal, it's kind of a psychological thing. But I wanted to go through it regardless. Couple of videos to share with you then. This clip from Scump, then I'm going to follow it up with this one from Crimsix, just explaining some context to another clip I wanted to show. So Crim talks about how he has this poster on his wall, so he like sees Scump and Formal every day, kind of doesn't like him. And then Scump follows up with saying like, we're living rent free.
Come in and dominate the response, and they are letting them know across the stage.
And you just walked away with the 3-1.
Yeah, that was going to be a lot harder, but these guys are all disgusting, so this shit was easy.
Oh!
I actually have a Damon and Holly actually made me this. It was a poster of the OpTic IW team winning the champs there. So Seth and Matt might not see me every day, but I see them. I literally wake up, walk outside my bedroom, see them, and I'm instantly motivated. Any thought of like doing anything else other than playing, it goes out the window right when I see that stupid poster.
Crimsix, you gotta take that poster down, man. We're living rent free, brother. Golly.
Thank you so
So let's run through these last couple of minutes really quickly then. So Hastro then says, standing outside with Crimsix and Scump, comes up to talk about the match in detail, listening to these guys dissect the match. Pretty interesting to see this side of the rivalry, like super hyped up on main stage, but then backstage, you know, discussing the match in a bit more detail. So there's that to say as well. Maven talks a little bit about how they're trying to fix these issues with the scoreboard. So apparently Maven mentioned something about Codcaster, which they didn't listen to. Hopefully they will take that forward in future. Skycam, statics, all of this stuff. Hopefully they will get better with that across time. But it wasn't a great viewing experience for the first day. And here we go then, the last couple of matches. So this is courtesy of Cam Allen on Twitter, and I think there's another guy who's working with him doing the graphics, and this is just phenomenal to look at. So Seattle Surge, Florida Mutineers. This was a 5-setter, or five map series. Florida Mutineers win it in a 3-2 fashion. They dominate the search and destroy. So that was really the key telling point here. Seattle Surge looked pretty good early on. Like Karma actually, you know, his slang was pretty good, and the slang on the side of Seattle Surge was pretty good on the whole. And yeah, Florida Mutineers, there wasn't exactly, you know, nothing special, but in the search and destroy, they were fantastic on that. Ramaza in the map 5, clearly something else. And in terms of S&D KD, you can see right here, this is where they dominated the series. Havoc and Pristini especially, absolutely running riot, and Seattle Surge clearly a lot to work on in their search and destroy going forwards. But as I say, a lot of these matchups are not incredibly meaningful. Then you've got the LA Gorillas Minnesota Rocker, and there was some drama in this one because you can see this map 2 was a forfeit. LA Gorillas go up 1-0. Then map 2, Los Angeles Gorillas also win, but one of the issues was that they had, okay, as you'll see in this image right here, this is Lacefield. He has Hardline on. Now, it's very strange because he had he put Hardline on his class. I imagine he didn't have Specialist on, which gives you those other perks. And Hardline doesn't even matter when streaks are gentleman's agreemented, so it honestly doesn't even affect the outcome of the game. But he had it on because the CDL rules, for some reason, don't stop you from putting it on. So I guess that is, you know, that is the player's mistake. But at the same time, a little bit frustrating, I'm sure, for that team to get forfeited for something like that. At the end of the day, this is like a land scrim kind of early on in the season. Better to make that hardline known now that, like, you know, if you have anything bad, you know, that's not going to fly and you're going to get forfeited. At least it's better to figure that out now than later in the season. But Minnesota Rocker took that momentum and won the next 2 maps in, you know, pretty close fashion in the domination. Then they kind of walked away with a hard point. Absolutely dominant performance by Adam Assault. 1.5 KD over the course of the series. He was like the stand-up performer on the first day. So here we go then. This is the schedule for tomorrow. I've honestly gone through that so quickly. In a couple of days' time, I'll talk about some of these topics in a bit more depth because they definitely deserve some diving into. Really intrigued to hear your thoughts down below. But this is how it all shapes up for tonight. So in a few hours' time, 2:30 PM Eastern Time, New York Subliners, London Ravens, Ultra, Surge, Gorillas, Mutineers, OpTic Legion, and FaZe Empire. So some spicy matchups. This first one especially is really good to see. I'm really excited to see how the Ultra play actually. And then, you know, Los Angeles Gorillas looked pretty good yesterday. Paris Legion, of course, coming out for the first time. And then to finish things off, Atlanta FaZe versus Dallas Empire. You know, Dallas could go 0-2 on the weekend if Atlanta FaZe are looking as good as we expect them to look. So thanks for watching as always. Like if you guys enjoyed, I'd greatly appreciate it. Subscribe if you're new. I'll see you next time.